Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge to 40% alcohol blended Irish whiskeys. Most Irish whiskeys that you roast there are blended, not an unusual thing. They do make some single malt and single grain and single pot still versions, but the typical is blended. Okay, so here they are. This is Michael Collins, introduced in 2006, and it's possibly discontinued. And I'm saying that because it was made by Cooley Distillery for the Sidney Frank Company. Sidney Frank Company is gone. The man, Sidney Frank, died, and his family sold off Grey Goose to some big company, and then Michael Collins got bought by the Sazerac Company a few years back, and they make one now that they show on the website called Michael Collins The Prediction, but they're not showing this one. However, with Sazerac, doesn't mean a whole lot. And they're showing this like spiral with 3 arms on it, which is strange because it's only double distilled, not triple distilled. But anyhow, there it is, Michael Collins. And like I say, may not be producing more. Hello, Bill. I'm fine. How are you? And we had a very victorious week. We're having a victorious week, so we'll see how it pans out. Okay, now here is, so thanks for watching. And I know you made some videos about the events of the week. All right, so here's Kavanagh. And they're showing a 3 interlocking rings. That makes sense because it's triple distilled. This is their purple label. Kavanagh, 80 proof, 40% alcohol, triple distilled Irish whiskey. It says finest blended. Yeah, of course, everything's the best. Aged in ex-bourbon barrels. Doing good, Ron. Getting ready to go for a run. I'll see that you've been exercising. That's great. Running. I can't really run. My body can't take it, but I walk a lot. You know, miles and miles every week. But so it's got this notch in the back, so if you put it on the rack, it doesn't fall off. You know, it doesn't roll, keeps it from rolling. So I have only seen this at Total Wine and More, but I cannot say. Oh, that was your go-to? Yeah. I cannot say that it is a private label for Total Wine and More because the trademark is held by Teeling. It's produced by the Teeling Distillery. And you've seen Teeling small batch. Everybody knows that one. So, but it could be a deal where Teeling makes it for Total Wine and More and they just stock it there. But I have seen, you know, now that I think about it, I have seen this one at Savannah Discount. But if you read about private label brands, they will show up at other stores sometimes because of they'll have overflow and they'll license it out to other stores. You know, they'll just tell the distributor here, you can let them sell it, and they'll sign an agreement, little release, and they'll do it. So that could happen. It says imported by Sorrento Imports, Stamford, Connecticut. I can't find any website for them. I can't find any website for Kavanagh. Distilled, blended, and matured in Ireland. Notice it said matured in Ireland. It does not say bottled in Ireland. So it's probably sent over here and bottled somewhere in the U.S. Not anything unusual. So there you go. I can show you what Total Wine says about it. I predict Kavanagh for the win. It's probably going to be a tie as far as quality and everything, but it probably will win because it's not going to be any worse than the Michael Collins and it's cheaper. See, this one is going for $18.99. Spirits Direct. Some people say that means it's able. That might mean that, but I've seen stuff like Canadian Lake, Canadian blended whiskey listed as Spirits Direct. That's not a private label, or it might, or it could have been made. They might have made an exclusive agreement for it to only be sold at Total Wine, but it used to be on the Sazerac website. Anyway, there it is. Now it's saying here, age at least 4 years in ex-bourbon barrels. This is not such that Total Wine and More did. You know that as well as I do. It's just whatever info were given by the distiller. You know that. It was just, they just put it on their website. They don't have time to, or any interest in researching it. So there you go. Been on the market since 2013. There's the single malt. And they make these Kavanagh spiced Irish cream liqueurs, but I don't think those are from Teeling. I think those are from Mary and Sons, who does a lot of the creams. But, you know, they just negotiate with the name and all. I know those are going to be good. They're always good. It's hard to find a bad Irish cream. They have a few questionable ones out there, but so single malt. There is a gray. I think there's a gray label. They're not listing it right now, you see, but there's a gray label that's single grain. That tends to be sort of like a sham. And what I mean by that is that it is a great price for quality. When I say it's a sham, is what they do. A triple distilled Irish whiskey contains grain alcohol from a column still, like clear, odorless, colorless, what people would call vodka in a sense. They age that for 3 years, either with the other ingredients or separately. Then you've got copper pot still. It's aged in a copper pot still. Not aged, I'm sorry, distilled. That's grain, also corn or barley, any grain you see. Then you've got the single malt. Those are blended together to achieve a nice rounded flavor. But you see what they'll do? The companies are slick. They'll take the pieces and sell them as separate products. They'll have Kavanagh copper pot still, just the copper pot whiskey. And then they'll have the single malt that they use and sell that separately. So it makes it seem like they make all these varieties when there's really one variety, and then they split the pieces up and sell it. It would be like Oreo single dough cookie, single sugar, nothing but sugar, only the chocolate, you know, only the shortening. You said, well, nobody would buy that. I know. That's right, because it's only pieces of what makes up the cookie. My mom recently liked the Kavanagh Bailey. Oh, you mean the Kavanagh Irish cream? Kavanagh Bailey's, huh? Okay. Bailey's being, you know, Irish cream liqueur from 1974. Okay. And cream liqueurs often use a large percentage of unaged grain spirit, probably because they don't want a whole lot of flavor coming from the whiskey, you know, a little. They want the flavor coming from the cream and the sugar and if it's pumpkin spice or salted caramel, stuff like that. They don't want the strong Irish whiskey flavor. Well, it's a mild flavor, but you know what I'm saying. No, I mean, they don't want the whiskey flavor to override the dessert flavor or whatever you want to call it. Well, that's what it is, basically. Okay. The Kavanagh seems lighter, a little more straw. This one's a little more deeper gold. So double distilled, triple distilled. So the double distilled, it's just the grain, column still grain whiskey and single malt. Whether that makes it better or worse, it depends on who you're talking to. If you're talking to the company that makes the double distilled whiskey, common sense, they're going to tell you how wonderful that is to do it that way. Other companies going to tell you, no, they're just taking a shortcut, blah, blah. You got to have it triple distilled and all that kind of stuff. Okay. My answer is, well, they both seem fine to me, you know. But two gingers, they used the number 2 on it for a reason, because it's 2 whiskeys double distilled. And that one's also a Total Wine and More, and it's like $16.99. But international market had it for $15.99. So that was a better price, and that's it from Kilbeggan Distillery, because the guy that started Two Gingers didn't own a distillery. He's just a brand. He was a brand holder. Well, he sold it. You know, he sold the rights to it. You know, these small companies, they do that. They'll sell out. Leinenkugel sold out in 1988, and now it was announced yesterday that Leinenkugel's brewery is going to be shut down in Chippewa Falls, maybe as early as January 2025. They don't control their own brewery, though. They sold to Miller, meaning Philip Morris, in 1988. But who knows? Maybe Leinenkugel's would have been gone in 98 if they hadn't sold. Because it wasn't like regional beers were starting to get more popular. They were starting to fade by that time. Latrobe Brewing, remember, they sold out. Rolling Rock. Leinenkugel sold. And let's be honest, Leinenkugel's been fading for the last 10 years. It used to be on the shelves here all the time. We always got the variety packs. We got a lot of their beers. Then it was a case where you would get some of their beers, and now it's gotten to the point where you see occasionally a Leinenkugel's here or there, and it'll almost invariably be that summer shandy, with the lemonade and beer. So, unfortunately, those things happen. The coffee is kicking in. I have to run to the bathroom, but I'm still listening. Okay. I might buy a 6-pack of Michelob today. I drank 3 cups of coffee this morning, by the way. I used to be like the summer shandy from Leinenkugel. So I was always hoping I could go on a brewery tour, but regional breweries have a hard time making it, Believe me, we had Dixie Brewery. Well, the hurricane wiped it out, Katrina, but it wasn't really that successful. It was struggling before that, and they didn't have insurance. That's how struggling they were. They didn't even have the money to pay the insurance for, insurance. So when it got hit, there was no way to repair it. Well, actually, they got looted. That was what really hurt them. But you see what I'm saying? Jack's Brewery shut down in 1974 in New Orleans, 50 years ago. I remember when it was open. And now they brought the brand back, Jack's Beer. It hit the store yesterday in my town. But it's not from Jack's Brewery. That does not exist. It's from a local brewery, another local brewery called Port Orleans. And they're very small, owned by a former Saints football player, I think his name is Zach Street. So if it does catch on and become popular again, which I doubt, Jack's Brewery, but let's just say Jack's Beer becomes popular again and starts selling like crazy. Well, they're not going to be able to keep up with the production. No way Port Orleans is going to have the capacity to make popular demand beer. They would have to probably turn it over to Abita Brewing, and they have a limit too. But it's never going to get too big. It's not like people in Connecticut and Idaho going to be saying, let's go get some Jacks. Nah, not going to happen. Not going to happen. Schaefer was one of those regional breweries that got nationwide, but only for a little while. Schaefer was regional, then it got big, but it couldn't maintain it. It's struggling, and then they sold out in 1981, and then their stuff started slowly fading out of the stores, and now you never see it. I mean, some people in Pennsylvania tell me, yeah, I see it, 30 packs. Yeah, but back in the mid-90s, it was common in Louisiana. Schaefer, it was common. Evansville Brewing, Sterling beer. I used to get it. I liked it. I didn't buy it regularly because I didn't know it was about to go out of business in 1997. It just abruptly shut down. And that was the end of Sterling. Somebody tried to bring it back as like a craft beer thing, and that didn't go anywhere. But that's an example. And I remember they had that brown glass quart bottle at a local gas station, which went out of business, got rebought. It's reopened under a different company. But I saw that quart of Sterling, and I said, next time I come here on the way to New Orleans, I'm going to get it. Because for some reason, I didn't get it that day. I went back the next week. They didn't have it, the quarts. I was like, I don't understand why I can't find it. I would have had that in my collection. It looked nice. I still have the can. And then I found out a little while later, their company went out of business. And it had been around since like the 1800s. And I was like, well, another one's gone. And don't even mention all the craft breweries that have been shutting down. That's like almost like a daily occurrence, seemed like. The most tragic being Anchor, which the new owner claims he's bringing it back, but I've seen no evidence that it's happening. Okay, this smells grain. Smells of grain. Makes sense, doesn't it? It's a grain product. It's not too distinct though, just sweet grain. Let's go over here. Even less aroma. So that's making me think that it's the Kavanagh. The Kavanagh having a less of an aroma, because I noticed since I've been taste challenging Michael Collins that it has a strong smell, aroma, or people say a strong nose. You know how people say, let's nose the beer, let's nose the whiskey. Okay. But now the taste. I can't rely on proof to tell them apart because they got the same proof. Now I did that with Teeling. That was a cheat sheet because Teeling has 92 proof. It's 46% alcohol. So as soon as I tasted it, bam, I knew that's it. There's no mistaking. It's 86 proof. 86. I'll get it right. 46% alcohol. 46% alcohol versus 40. So in a snap, I had it. Now, which one was better? Can't say. They both taste nice, which meant Teeling lost. And why did it lose? Because it's $36.99, and Michael Collins, I paid $23.99. $23.99. So 24 times 2 is 28. So $27.98 for 2 bottles. Not 20, $47.98. So it just didn't justify the price. Did I prefer Teeling? A little bit more, yeah. But not $13 more. Now, some people get angry when I say those kind of things, and they'll be like, you should never bring in price. Price should never be considered. You're not a pure alcohol taster or whatever. And I'm thinking, okay, but wait a minute. This is not like a whiskey judging convention or something like that, where I was a judge and I'm just tasting stuff that you stick in front of me, which I've been invited to be a judge at a beer contest once. A guy named Sal asked me, you want to be a beer judge at this beer festival in Houma, Louisiana? I said, no, I had something to do that day. And secondly, although I could have done it, I didn't want to be drinking all of these beers and have to drive home from Houma. That's over an hour away. So I turned it down. Now, if it had been close, like Kenner or Metairie or New Orleans, yeah, I probably would have done it. My point is I have to buy these products. And so do all the other people watching the videos. They have to go out to the store and buy the product. So to say, oh, you should never bring up price in consideration, that undermines, I don't believe it undermines it. Because people have to buy it. Now, if you want to use that argument, then you need to step up and say you're going to buy everybody's liquor and beer. And then they can taste it in a purified sense without having to consider price point. A, that's not going to happen. B, that's unrealistic. So we're trying to look at this in a realistic sense, that you will have to buy. Like the same thing people get me with craft beer. Oh, you shouldn't bring that up, the price. Okay, it's $11 a bottle. Well, now it would be a can, right? $11 a can. And you have to, you know how fabulous it is. I said, yeah, it's fabulous, but it's $11 a can. You know, they got other beers that's fabulous and it's $3 a can. So I don't think their point is valid. Not in a real world sense, because you have to buy it. You say, well, everything being equal, but everything's not equal. You see. Maybe Schaefer and Berge. Oh, I had bought Burger Beer. They brought that back after the company went out of business. Some third party was making it. It was terrible. Terrible. I have cans though that I kept. Maybe Schaefer or Berge will make a comeback like Pabst did. They were just as good of a beer. Maybe Pabst owns Schaefer. Pabst owns Schaefer. But that's a bad thing because usually when Pabst buys something, you never see it again. Just saying. Jack's, yeah, finally showed up, but Pabst didn't make it. Well, they don't make anything. They just farm it out. I guess maybe Port Orleans kind of badgered them and was like, well, why don't you let us make it? You don't make it. And Pabst was like, no. So then they probably say, yeah, let them make it. If it bombs, we hadn't lost anything because nobody is not being produced. And if it sells, we'll get a cut of it. So Peels, they let that die. Schmidt, they let that die. Schaefer, they let that die or practically die. Carling Black Label. See what I'm saying? I'm naming all these brands and everybody's saying, oh, I remember in the 80s, my grandpa used to drink. Yeah, well, they own these brands and they all are gone. Although you say, there's an obscure store on the south side of Chicago that sells Heilemann Special Export. Yeah. 20 years ago, they had 300 stores that sold it. And that is one. 25 years ago, I could buy multiple endless cans and even bottles because I found a 12-pack of bottles of Schaefer Light once. Schaefer. But then Pabst bought it. And it was bye-bye. You say maybe they're buying all of these smaller brands to get them off the shelf so everybody buys Pabst. Well, now. Well, let's think about that. I see Pabst everywhere, bottles and cans everywhere. I go to bars, they got it on draft. Pabst on draft. Got cans and bottles, cans, bottles, draft, can, bottle, draft, all around. So maybe that is what happened. Maybe they did want to buy all these brands, probably for hardly anything in today's market over the last 25 years and get them off the shelf so that there is no competition. Schlitz, I do get Schlitz in this town. You guess right, another Pabst brand. Most people tell me I can't find Schlitz. Schlitz used to be one of Pabst's biggest competitors. They bought it. Now it's bye-bye Schlitz. See how it works? Rainier's still making Rainier, right? No, Rainier's gone. Pabst bought it. Hey, it's a pattern. We used to call Schmidt Animal Beer, yeah, because it had all the hunting thematics on it. The birds and the bears, and all. I have a lot of those old cans. Pearl, there's another one. Pearl, bought by Pabst. Bye-bye. Don't see it anymore. Pabst Natural Ice and Bud Light were the beers of choice back in my college parties. Have a good day. Peace out. Bye, Wesley. Whatever happened to Milwaukee's Best? I love that beer. Well, it's common here. They got rid of Milwaukee's Best Premium. Okay. Because Miller probably didn't want it competing with Miller High Life, honestly. Since they own both, why keep it? They got rid of Meisterbrow probably for the same reason. We don't need to compete against ourselves. Got rid of Red Dog, same reason most likely. But any store here sells Milwaukee's Best Light all day long. And then Dollar General and the gas station sell the quart cans of Milwaukee's Best Ice. Milwaukee's Best Ice, still a strong seller. They tried selling 30 packs around here, but nobody bought it. It was all out of date. So it got pulled. Whoop. Pabst Extra was good too. Yeah, I saw that for like a week. I'm exaggerating. Maybe 6 months. They had it at Walmart in Kenner. Now, you ain't going to find it. But that was a marginal product all around. I don't mean quality-wise, just availability-wise. Okay. I mean, let's be honest. Miller would have bought Pabst in 1990. Not 1990. 2000. Except the U.S. government stepped in and was like, no, it's a monopoly and all of that. So Pabst has to stay independent. Okay. And one more thing. If you read the press release about why they shut down Leinenkugel Brewery, they hinted that it was losing money. And secondly, they talked about they had lost a recent huge contract. Miller Brewing had lost a recent huge contract. And you know who that was. So they couldn't afford Now they lost a big chunk of change coming in every month. So that's probably why they couldn't afford to keep bankrolling a failing brewery, Leinenkugel, for some tourists to come look at the brewery and put out beer that wasn't selling. So they said, yeah, we're going to still make Leinenkugel at the Miller Brewery. And we're still going to have this little tap room, the Leinenkugel pilot thing, whatever, which probably gets shut down in a year. I don't know. So, yeah, I said, whoa. And you know who the big contract was. Now, City Brewing, you know what? I wouldn't be shocked if City Brewing bought Leinenkugel's brewery. From Miller, meaning Molson Coors, for a low price. You say, yeah, but they would turn it into some kind of thing, making like Jaguar malt liquor or something instead of Leinenkugel's. And then the Leinenkugel's would taste weird after that. It wouldn't be as well, yeah, maybe, but then it would still exist as a brewery. You know what I mean? So remember when COVID hit, I had a wall of Pabst Extra cases from a background. Yeah. The scamdemic. All right. Now, did City, this has got to be the Kavanagh, I mean, the Michael Collins, but let me check. I'm talking about beer too much. No, I'm going to take that back. This one has a pretty bountiful flavor. I don't know. Not tasting any peatiness though. Well, I guess you're right. Kavanagh wins because it's $5 cheaper and it doesn't taste any worse. So common sense, it wins by that virtue. But basically, they both nice. So I'm gonna say this is the Kavanagh. I got it right. Well, I was sweating that out though. Ooh, that was close. That was scary. But I got it. You know, I won. It's like last second pass. We won. We beat the Bears. Y'all should have been celebrating before the game was over. Burley Sullivan says, you. Cheers back to you. So, yeah, it's interesting. One more thing. Does City Brewing in La Crosse, Wisconsin have the historical legacy that you used to have with Heilemann Brewing over there? Because I went to Heilemann Brewing and I got a keychain I bought. I didn't have time to go on it turns out I did have time to go on a tour, but I was like, oh no, I got to get to this motel. And so I took pictures of the big water tanks that were painted like a beer can. It was the world's biggest 6-pack, which they still have there now. It's painted with different beer brand and all of that. And the day I was there, as soon as I left the brewery, this was amazing. I left the brewery. I got in my car, left the brewery. I was driving up the United States Highway 61, getting ready to go into Minnesota, or I might have crossed the bridge into Minnesota. And it came on the radio and said, breaking news, Heilemann Brewing has been sold to Stroh's. And everybody was in a shock. That was 1996. Stroh's said they have no plans at this time to lay off any workers and all of that. And the brewery will stay open. I thought, uh-oh. And it was like all on the news. Everybody was in a panic, you know. I said, well, at least I got the keychain. And then what happened 3 years later? Stroh's sold to Pabst. And you know what happened next. Pabst shut down the brewery and walked away from it. And then City Brewing, here comes City Brewing, investors, whoever these people were. And they're like, hey, we'll buy it from you since you ain't using it. And Pabst was like, okay. So they sold it to them. They had shut down the Schlitz Brewery in Memphis, Tennessee, like maybe around the same time, 2000, 2001, whatever. Hey, you want to sell that? Yeah, we'll buy it. I mean, yeah, we'll sell it. So then they bought the Schlitz Brewery. Then Latrobe, Anheuser-Busch bought Latrobe Brewing and Rolling Rock, but they didn't have any interest in the brewery using it. So here comes City Brewing. Hey, you want to sell that since you're not using it? They said, okay. So now City got 3 breweries. Now, what happened last year? Pabst bought or 2022 maybe, Pabst bought Miller's Brewery in Irwindale, California, Los Angeles County, California. So they say, okay, Pabst bought a brewery. They're going to start brewing again. Wrong. They immediately flipped it. That's all they did was buy it. And then like a month later, they sold it to, you guessed right, City Brewing, who renovated it because the equipment was old. That's one reason Miller shut it down, because they didn't feel like paying for all the equipment updating and everything. And I think they had union problems, as we could, the union's like, we'll show you. If you don't bow down to us, we'll go on strike and we'll show you. We're going to squeeze you. And Miller's like, yeah, we got a better idea. We'll just shut the brewery down. How you like that? And then all the workers don't have a job. And then the workers are like, hey, the union's supposed to help us. The union's like, well, we got our dues. We're on a yacht drinking highballs and you don't have a job, but power to the people, right on. So then City bought it and now they're making beer. And I don't think it's union involved anymore, but now at least they have a job, right? You say, but they don't have a conscience, man. It's all about the struggle, man. I'd rather live with no money and be poor and eat handout food and have a conscience than sell out to the man and have a job and a nice house and a career, that kind of thinking, the union put those kind of thoughts in your mind. Okay. Well, like I said, while they're on the yacht drinking highballs and you struggling. Okay. But anyway, and their pension fund is giving loans to the Stardust Casino or whatever. All right. Well, anyway, that's my experience. I used to be a high school teacher and I was in a union. So I know what unions are like. I was in two different ones and I quit both of them. Yeah, man, Kavanagh is the best bang for the buck, like Patty's. Okay, so Kavanagh is the clear and present winner. Why? Is it head and shoulders better than Michael Collins? No. It's arguably not better at all, but it is $5 cheaper. And I just as soon keep the $5 and enjoy the product. Am I getting anything better with this? No, I wouldn't believe I would. It's different, but it's not better and it's not worse, but it's $5. So that's the key to the riddle. Patties. Man, they got Patties $19.99 in Mathern's right now, $19.99. Patties is always on sale somewhere. It's like the stores take turns, which I know that's not allowed, but it's kind of funny that none of them ever had Patties on sale at the same time. It's like Sazerac Rye whiskey. No one around here ever has Sazerac Rye on sale at the same time. This month, it'll be Rouse's. Next month, it'll be Canseco's. Next month, it'll be Mathern. The next month, it'll be Winn-Dixie. It's like, and I'm thinking to myself, it's so strange that it's never on sale at the two different stores at the same time. Okay, so it's like they pay to get rid of their competition. That's the way I look at it. That's my experience with Pabst over the years. They buy all these brands that they compete with. Falstaff, Pearl, Jack's, Peels, Schaefer, Olympia, and one by one, they all die out. They don't die out overnight. It's like it's slowly bled away where you don't even notice it. And then one day you're like, hey, where's the Olympia beer? And then you ask the store manager, what happened to Olympia? I don't know. They stopped selling it. Like we couldn't get it anymore. And it's like, then you notice there's nowhere in the Coke. And then they make some quiet announcement. We no longer produce Olympia beer for the time being. Olympia got discontinued a few years ago. But then there's Pabst on the shelf rolling along. Old Milwaukee, another example. That was a Schlitz Budget brand. You ever see that anymore? Nope, I don't either. Not any fresh can. I saw a store had a whole cooler full of it and it was all out of date. I said, So is that a smart way to do it? I guess it's a smart way to do it. It's kind of a crooked way to do it in a way. But you can't say it's a crime because they did buy the brand, right? And so they own it, so they can do whatever they want with it. Correct? Correct. If they want to let it die, fine. Now, so then you got the the top beers on the market, the regular beers on the market: Budweiser, Coors, Miller, Pabst. That's your top four all the time. You say, what about Yingling? Well, they're number 5, maybe. So was this some long-term plan by Pabst that was insidiously launched in the mid-1970s, 50 years ago, to slowly extinguish the competition? It may have been, and if it was, it sure did work. Think about it. These cans over here, that's all just memories. That's a whole shelf of memories, not current. Now, am I heartbroken by that? Not really. They all kind of taste the same anyway. It's fun to look at the labels. So you say, they're like a mad scientist. You say, does that happen with liquor? Well, do you see a lot of liquor buyouts? Yeah. Do you see some brands fade away? Yeah. So it could just be an industry thing. I don't know. What do I know about industry? Keystone Light was good too, but they still make that. I can get 30 packs of Keystone Light for $20 at Walmart every day of the week. Sure can. Not premium, it's gone. Coors got rid of it. And not the ice. They got rid of that in 2021. I don't know why. They already had ice beers that they made, so they probably didn't want any to compete against themselves. I don't know their internal operations. I'm just theorizing, of course. All right, we all take care. Thanks for watching this long video. But I like talking about these kind of things because they're interesting. You know, like you're thinking about it. Like people say, you made a decision. You know everything, huh? You think you know. I didn't say I knew everything. I said I'm thinking about it. That's all I said. I'm thinking about it. I could be wrong, but maybe, you know, I'm saying let's think about it. Just think about it. Later on, have a great day. All right, you too. Bye-bye, everybody.